That is a song that you haven't heard recorded before. One of the songs that we'll release with the Tropicals EP. And I said last week that would be released like the coming Friday, and it didn't. We pushed it back again. But this time there's some legitimate reasons. One thing, it wasn't entirely finished. Like we're still sort of checking that everyone's happy with the artwork and the song order and all that kind of stuff. And we wanted to work out some logistics of like the release day in terms of, we want to do like a pre-order vinyl. Like if you want to buy the vinyl, you can pay for it and then you get a free digital copy, and then that money will go to getting the vinyls made. So they'll be made to order. But we hadn't figured out all the logistics of that yet. And also, a bunch of stuff has been happening in the world recently, which has kind of just made it seem a little bit, I don't know, I guess a little bit selfish to try and bring attention to ourselves in this moment when we should probably be standing back and letting other people speak. But so for those reasons, both those reasons, we've pushed it back to the 19th of June, which is this month. So it's in 2 weeks' time. And we chose the 19th because on that day, like what we were going to do on Friday is that Bandcamp were doing like a free, like, they don't take any percentage of any sales or anything. So all the money would go to the creators, right? And then we were thinking we would donate, all the profits to a racial justice charity, because in the light of, these events. But then the logistics didn't line up, and we found out that on the 19th of June, that Bandcamp are actually donating money from profits and stuff to racial justice anyway. So it was kind of perfect. So it aligned with what we wanted to do in that respect, and it gives us a little bit of time to just polish some things off. So that's what we'll be doing. But that song was called Extreme Heat, and you can look forward to hearing the full thing. If you've seen us live before, you would have heard it. But yeah, so that's it for that. And we're getting straight into it, coming straight out of Berlin, just like every other week. This week, I thought for a little bit of fun, I would open up with something different. Because I often give people a hard time about, believing in horoscopes and that kind of thing. So I thought maybe this week I'll open up with my own horoscope. So here we go. Communication could be a key issue this week as the Sun and the sultry retrograde Venus continues in your sector of talk and thought. A lot of what takes place hints at mixed messages and some confusion. Confusion... Yeah, definitely confusion. I'm confused at what this sentence means. Actually, that's very confusing. I guess it's because of the Venus retrograde. I'm having communication issues. Let's keep moving. If you need to reach an agreement or talk through a deal, feelings could interfere with the smooth flow of conversation. I mean, sure. I think that's applicable to almost everyone, but yeah, that's applicable to me. A side of you could resist negotiating, especially if you can't get your way. You could set out to sabotage the outcome, even if unconsciously. If you feel unable to confront someone directly, you may well go down this route. Well, that's not my character at all. I usually just confront everyone about anything. I've been trying not to be so much of a dick to people, but sometimes I think it's better to just be honest. Friday's lunar eclipse in Sagittarius and your sector of new opportunities can bring feelings out into the open to be aired. And with the bluntness of a sight of the archer, a lot may be said that leads to regret. If you value someone's friendship, be careful how you voice any criticisms. Okay. Well, I don't know what this has got to do with archery, but I will take that advice on board. So thank you very much, horoscope.com. And what else have we got here? Today's matches are love with Capricorn, friendship with Gemini, career Scorpio. I didn't actually know that my career had a horoscope, but I've learned something else. There we go. Very cool. Let's have a look at this nice message from somebody following this same kind of theme of, opening up myself to new things. Let's see what this girl has to say.
Really powerful thing you can do when you're around the ocean is just ask the ocean to cleanse and cleanse. Really powerful.
Okay, obviously I've watched that before, so I knew it was coming back. Very cool. You gotta respect the power of the ocean. See what it's trying to communicate to you, I guess. It's communicating how to shut the fuck up. All right. I'm joking around. Got some, some funny things to talk about, got some serious things to talk about. I don't want to talk about too much serious stuff, but let's get into it. So, you might have seen on the last episode and on my Instagram, I've been pretty excited about the NASA SpaceX launch, the Falcon 9. And obviously I think highly of Elon Musk. I know he's a weird dude, but I'm very impressed with the things he's achieved. We'll just wait for the obnoxious stirring to end. So a bit more. Okay. Very good. So, there's been a lot of funny things come out from the launch. One thing I thought, it's not meant to be funny, but so since the launch happened, there's been a lot of stuff in the media which has been funny, but it kind of quickly got pushed to the aside because of the, Black Lives Matter sort of stuff. But I still think it's worth talking about because, we shouldn't forget about this huge thing that happened. Something funny I thought was Trump's speech that he made after the launch, which I've just got a little bit to play here.
Groundbreaking partnership between NASA and SpaceX has given our nation the gift of an unmatched power, a state-of-the-art spaceship to put our astronauts into orbit at a fraction of the cost.
I just love looking at his mouth when he makes speeches. It's just like, yeah. But the main thing that I kept finding so funny about this speech is just how much he really just ignores all the stuff to do with like technological advancements and stuff and like progressing humans as a species. And he just focuses it on this competitive aspect of like, we're better than every other country and we have so much power now because we can do this. And at one point he made a comment about like Americans being able to do things that no other country has ever been able to do, which is true. Like there's a lot of, well, there's some things like obviously they put people on the moon first and, there hasn't been other countries that were able to land their rockets back to like SpaceX has been able to do. But what he's neglecting to remember is that like for the last 9 years since the space shuttle program finished, Americans have been riding on Russian rockets to get to and from the International Space Station, and Chinese and stuff. It's like you've been piggybacking off other countries using their resources because you weren't able to do it yourself. Or America wasn't able to do it themselves, or it just wasn't financially viable to do it. But it's like don't forget that like you're acting like you're better than any other country after 9 years of riding on Russian rockets to the International Space Station. So, but yeah, it's just a funny speech. Like, I don't know if he really knows what he's talking about, but
of the space shuttle, and it's much
like,
better. From now on, the United States will leverage the fast-growing capabilities of our commercial sector.
Just so cocky and arrogant. God, it's funny. So what else happened from the launch? I guess flat earthers have been pretty quiet the last couple of weeks, and I'm not saying that this launch like proves something, but you know, I think a lot of people got to see, like, because you got to see live stream video on board and outside of the rocket the entire time through the launch. It was really well broadcast and everything. It's like, I think it made it a lot harder to say that it had been faked, but you know, people will still think that it was fake, but whatever. But yeah, flat earthers have really been copying it. I guess people just looked at it as like, oh, how's your flat earth theory now? And yeah, like I can still see how they would say that, you know, that was faked or CGI or whatever. But yeah, this article says that flat earth theory has turned into a meme fest. Everyone was just like, yeah, flat earth is trying to see the CGI. So that's a bit of fun. Yeah, the coverage was awesome. And I don't know if anyone kept watching like over the next few days, but they had another stream where the guys had like a, you know, they did like a press conference, the 5 people that are in the ISS right now, the 3 Americans and the 2 Russians. And yeah, it was cool to see all that kind of footage over the week of a lot of exciting things happening. And so, yeah, I was watching one of those streams of the guys sitting in the, or floating in the ISS, and they're all wearing watches. They wear watches around their suit. And I kept seeing in the comments feed, people were saying, watches don't work in space. Or like, how do you explain that? Why are they wearing watches? Watches don't, like, how does the watch work? It's like, I think this comes from one like thing from a long time ago where the most common watches were like, you know, you have like a weighted pendulum in them. So that as you walk around and move your arm during the day, you're passively charging a battery inside the watch. And a lot of watches still use this as well. Because I'm not sure, maybe it's not charging a battery, maybe it's charging, I don't know how it works. Maybe it's like a ratchet and it's twisting a spring or something, but basically that is what helps power the watch. That's only certain types of watches. And there are plenty of watches that don't use that. Like you can just have a battery in a watch. Like obviously a smartwatch is going to work in space, no problems. So there's plenty of watches that work perfectly fine in space. And actually in the older space launches, like, you know, all the Apollo missions and stuff, they would have used wind-up watches, which have a spring under tension. So yeah, definitely watches can work in space. There's one type of watch that doesn't work in space, well, for long, because you don't have the gravity to move the pendulum. So yeah, that was an interesting comment, but I think it's also pretty irrelevant. Yeah, I started finally listening to Joe Rogan's second podcast with Elon Musk. And yeah, a lot of people have been like harping on that thing where he is saying he's getting rid of all of his possessions, and they're like, oh, Grimes is crazy, like she must be telling him to do all this stuff. Like, Elon's crazy as well. but also I don't think it's crazy what he's doing. And people were like, oh, you know, he said that his possessions are a target vector. And yeah, I agree. Like saying target vector makes it sound like pretty weird. Like it's as if he owns an expensive house, people are going to attack his house, and that house is a target vector. I don't think that's what he meant. I think he means in the sense of like, oh, well, this person has all of this stuff. Like, how can they complain about things? It's like if just because somebody's rich, if they ever try to make some point or some argument about something, people will use their wealth and their possessions and stuff as a criticism against them, and they'll ignore the actual, like the actual statement that they're trying to make, and just be like, oh, this person, they're just filthy rich and they have all this stuff or whatever. I think that's what he meant by the attack vector. So yeah, it kind of makes sense. And I totally agree with him. Like I have these same, on a way smaller scale, I have these same battles in my head where I'm like, what should I be spending my time on? Like, what is the best use of my time? What am I best at doing, and what am I wasting time on where I should just ask somebody else for help because that's not my strength? And for him, designing and building a house, he would make it an amazing house. Like it would be, he talks about it being like Tony Stark's house. Like it would be something awesome. But yeah, also he's one of the only people in the world that is able to like get people to be living on Mars, or to be, I don't know how to word this. He's doing, he's converting the world to electric cars basically, which is a good thing in my opinion. So yeah, he's converting the world to electric cars. He's trying to get people onto Mars. He's trying to figure out with better ways of traveling with the Boring Company, as in underground tunnels to reduce traffic and stuff. And he's trying to figure out this neural link, which is also a pretty scary thing, but also could be really beneficial to people. So, those things are what the world needs him for. And that's what he's really good at. And that's what his unique skill is that nobody else has. And yeah, he could make a sick house, but that's a waste of his talent. So like, in a way, yeah, he's kind of being a bit more, maybe it's selfish in a way that he's like trying to create a legacy, but also it's kind of selfless at the same time, because he's saying, okay, I don't need to do this indulgent thing for myself and make this crazy house, because I've got the ability to do good things for humans and the world. So I should spend my time doing that. So for me, I'm definitely not doing much to save the world, but it makes me think like how to manage my time a bit better, to do things that I'm better at, and that somebody would need me to do. Like, what are the things that I can do that somebody else can't do, and what are the things that I'm not that good at that somebody else would be much better to do, and I should give them that task or whatever. It kind of harps back to my first video about why I'm sort of doing all this creative outlet type stuff. But yeah, so just more Elon fanboying. All right, now I want to talk about this Black Lives Matter stuff. I don't want to go too far into it because I'm not that qualified to speak on it, and I don't want to act like my opinion is that important in this, and also I don't want to say the wrong things, and also I'm still learning things, so I don't know, exactly what to say. But the Black Lives Matter march was in Berlin yesterday, and I didn't really participate in it. I did go and check it out towards the end, and I'm sort of torn between the protests, whether to protest or not. And the thing is, right, I totally support the movement 100%, but it's conflicting for me because I'm still worried about the coronavirus stuff. And I think in a way it's kind of irresponsible to be protesting at the moment, right now, but also, there's this thing of like, there's no appropriate time to protest these things. Like, this has been going on for so long, and it needs to end. It kind of goes back to the Colin Kaepernick kneeling in the NFL matches, and people saying, well, that's our national anthem. Like, if you're making a protest during the national anthem, you're disrespecting the country and disrespecting all the, the veterans and stuff. So that's not the appropriate time to be protesting. And it's like, it's ignoring the point. There's no appropriate time to be protesting. So yeah, I'm kind of torn because especially because a lot of these protests in the US have turned into riots, which I think is a really bad thing. But in the way it kind of is working. Like, everyone in the world is talking about it, and that's a good thing. but like, you know, the crimes that George Floyd committed maybe when, you know, what, I don't know exactly what it was, but it's nothing like terribly bad. The crime that the police officer committed against him, as in murdering him, is much worse. And now, as a backlash to that, these riots that have started, I think, are much worse even than, you know, the murder. It's like, obviously he didn't deserve to die, but I think like it's not good now what's happening, that, you know, more people are dying in the riots. Like, I think 3 people have been killed, and they're innocent people as well. Like, and they're black people. At least one of them is, from what I know. But yeah, so I don't think the riots are a good thing. Obviously, like, heaps of people are, you know, their businesses are being impacted and stuff. So I definitely don't think that's good. But protests are good, and it's, you know, people are getting the message across, and everyone's talking about it. And I think the main thing is that everyone is reconsidering their own thoughts on the issue. And I think people are actually starting to realize like their own shortfalls when talking about this topic. And I'm learning the same thing. I generally, like, when something like this happens, I tend to think like, okay, I'm being blasted with this one side of the argument. Let me check out some other sides of the argument to get like a more rounded opinion. And somebody showed me something, which was a black woman talking about how it's really easy for black people to be the victim, and that you know, black people need to look at how they act and how they. She's basically saying that black people kind of idolize criminals in a sense, like, you know, rappers that commit crimes and that kind of thing. And I understand what she's saying, and she brought up a lot of good points, and I was like, yeah, that's actually true, and I didn't think about that. But also, like, I'm not going to go around saying she's right, like, but there's things that she was saying which I think are true, but also points out bigger flaws in what she's saying. Like, you know, she said statistically you're actually more likely to be killed by a police officer if you're white. And like, the statistics don't add up, and you know, actually, like, a lot more black people are committing crimes and stuff. And I don't know if that's necessarily true, but if it is true, then okay, yeah, it's fine to say all that stuff. But also, like, there's a reason why the percentage of black people committing violent crimes is higher. And I think it's got a lot to do with systemic racism. So yeah, like, maybe what she's basically saying is it's not all white police officers' fault, which I can kind of agree on. But she's saying, you know, black people have to look at themselves and think about how we portray ourselves in the world and stuff. And I also think, yeah, that's not everything. Like, you can't explain it all that way either. And I don't know how to explain it, but I do think that, yeah, systemic racism is mostly at fault. And I think a lot of people are starting to realize that now, and realizing, okay, well, actually, I, in a way, contribute to that. Like, I think a lot of people really now are starting to check themselves, where in the past, I think I would have looked at what this woman was saying and be like, yeah, okay, that makes a lot more sense to me. Like, she's talking about statistics and stuff, and she's basically said that this issue isn't everything it's hyped up to be, and it's all kind of social justice warriors, like, pushing this agenda or something. And in the past, I think I would have been, yeah, more likely to listen to her and be like, oh, okay, yeah, there's more to it, and there's, you know, the statistics don't agree with what people are complaining about and stuff. But now I'm realizing that me doing things like that, like, I'm checking myself, and that's me looking for like an easy explanation to say, like, oh yeah, it's not everyone's racist. Like, it's like you're trying to push the issue away, and I'm realizing now that makes it worse. And that, you know, I myself might not necessarily be a racist person, but the way I act doesn't really discourage racism. So yeah, I think I am a lot more focused on that now, and I think a lot of people are, and they're trying to realize like, oh shit, we really are just like letting this happen as if it's not a big problem, and now it's very evident that it is a huge problem. I mean, everyone already knew that it was a huge problem. We were just paying that much attention to it. So I think there's things like, like comedians and stuff, when they make racist jokes, like a lot of people give themselves a pass, especially if you are like a black person, you give yourself a pass about making jokes about black people because you are a black person. Or if you're a white person like me, I can make jokes about being a privileged white person, and I don't know, not that that's offensive or anything, but yeah, I think, maybe if you're talking to a friend who is, Asian, or they're African American or something, and you think, oh, they're my friend, so like if they joke with me about racist stuff, then I can joke back with them about it. And they might be fine with it. And then you have this thing in your head where it's like, oh, I'm best friends with a guy who's, of a different race, and I have no hatred or judgment against him for being of a different race. And, I love him just like anybody else. But if I was to speak with him in a way that is joking about, racial stereotypes or something, maybe it doesn't mean that I'm a racist, but if somebody hears me say something like that, they're seeing me perpetuate a racist sentiment. And, it doesn't mean that I don't respect that race, but I'm still outwardly putting out racist statements, which it all builds up when everyone is doing that all the time and acting like it's not a big problem. That creates systemic racism, and that creates, actual hatred towards people and discrimination. So yeah, I think basically what I'm trying to say is that, it's making me realize that all the stuff that seemed like bullshit from social justice warriors and stuff, and like, oh, everyone's trying to censor everything, and people should be able to still joke about whatever they want to joke about, and I've got no discrimination against these people, like I love anyone and everyone, and but even still, I'm realizing like, oh, still I actually am contributing to systemic racism. So I think it's a good thing. I don't think that the riots are good, and I don't necessarily think George Floyd was like a stand-up citizen or something. That I don't think he's a bad person at all. But even if he was committing crimes, I don't think that's necessarily his fault that he ended up in that lifestyle of committing crimes. Like, I think that it's a lot of other people to blame for people getting into that situation, like because of racist discrimination. And I definitely don't think he deserved to die. So, yeah. Yeah, so there was a lot of people in Berlin doing this protest yesterday, and yeah, I think it's great. It's sending a great message, but also I was like, that's a huge amount of people, most of them hopefully wearing masks, but it'll be interesting to see what happens with the coronavirus if we get a spike after all these protests all around the world. But I personally didn't want to be there, but I'm still trying to figure out ways to show my support and to try and help, since I wasn't able to be at the protest. So for that, it's, talking about things like this and keeping the conversation going, and trying to donate some money to relevant causes. Like I mentioned before with this album release, we're not trying to make it like, we're not trying to get people to buy our album and using this donation thing as a as a way to attract sales. Don't think about it that way at all. It's like we've been wanting to release this album since July last year, and we're finally ready to do it. And it just happens that it's happening during this time. And actually, any money that we would have made from it, we've decided that it's going to this cause. So yeah, basically the way it's going to work is like Bandcamp donates all of their money to the charity, and we'll get a certain percentage of money for the sales. But we basically just need to cover costs of printing vinyls. Like if somebody buys a vinyl, that money that we get from that is going to making the vinyl for that person, and we're not going to be taking any profits. Like some of the money might go to paying for like the mastering for the album and stuff, but any profits that we would have made and kept as individuals, it's all going to be donated. So yeah, I just wanted to make that clear. And if you didn't see this video, I thought it was pretty nice. This is George Floyd's daughter.
That's right, Daddy changed the world. Wait, we don't.
He did what?
That changed the world.
Daddy changed the world. That's right, Daddy changed the world.
Yeah, so, you know, say what you want about George Floyd. He might not have been the best example of a stand-up citizen, but, you know, he is the catalyst in something that's really good for humans. Still kind of trying to figure out what to be thinking about the whole situation, but what I do know is that I'm beginning to check myself a bit more, and yeah, I'm hoping that a lot of other people are as well. But I don't want to go into it any more than that, because yeah, I really just don't know what else to say. So we'll leave it at that. Yeah, so in other news, there was a YouTube video I was watching, H3H3. They were talking about, they did this review of this guy who made a video basically shitting on Ethan from H3H3. And I was just watching it, and there was a section at the end with this guy, Shoe Nice. And if you don't know who Shoe Nice is, that's worth looking up on YouTube. This guy just does all this crazy stuff, like, you know, sculls liquor bottles and eats, what did he eat? He ate like a deodorant stick or something, and he just eats like crazy things. He eats toilet paper rolls and stuff. And but he's like, he drinks a lot. And they got him to do an interview in this video, and he was sober, and he was just like ripping on, like, it's like he just knows all of the ins and outs of everyone on YouTube, like all the big names and stuff, and he knows all the juicy details about them. Because he was sober, he was just like firing shots at everyone, and it was just so hilarious. And I commented on the video being like, that Shoe Nice section was fire. Sober Shoe is a boss. And he liked the comment, and he replied to it being like, oh, what did he say? Oh, he just wrote boom. But yeah, that was pretty funny. My little claim to degrade fame this week is Shoe Nice liked my comment. You should check out who Shoe Nice is to get a bit of background on that, because he's pretty funny. What else happened this week? I wanted to talk about something. I've started eating, because I'm trying not to eat at restaurants or anything while I'm at work, because yeah, still trying to avoid the virus. But been trying to get some food from a supermarket that I can eat at work, and I was looking through like the packaged sushi and stuff. And I've got to give you a backstory. For a long time, like, you know, I'm 28 now. It took me ages to figure this out. I only figured it out like 3 years ago. But I would occasionally, when I would eat like a salad or something, certain types of salads or like a sandwich, I would get this feeling afterwards, like, and I thought it was like indigestion or something, because I didn't really know what indigestion meant. Like when I would swallow something and then I'd be finished and I'd have a drink, but it still felt like something was stuck in my throat. And I couldn't tell what it was. I was like, oh, maybe bread's getting stuck in my throat or something. And I would always be drinking water and be like, oh, it's never, like, it doesn't wash it down. and it would only ever go away after I'd just wait for a while. And then I started noticing it happening when I was eating sushi, and I was like, yeah, this is so weird. Like, I don't know what it is. Maybe the seaweed is like getting from the wrap. Like maybe the seaweed wrap is getting stuck in my throat. Like it always feels like there's something stuck. I have to drink water to get it down. And then it would happen to me eating these random salads. And I'm like, I've got no idea what this is. Like maybe it's like red onion or something, like the skin on the red onion or something. Like it confused the hell out of me. And I feel so stupid now that I realize what it was. But basically, I'm allergic to avocado. And I just didn't realize my whole life that anytime I was eating something with avocado in it, I thought something was getting stuck in my throat. What it actually was is my throat was closing up because I'm allergic to avocado. So I was having and I'm obviously not like anaphylactic or anything, but I was having an allergic reaction in my throat, and it would be like contracting, and it felt like nothing could squeeze through. And yeah, I'm just dumb enough that I'd never realized, and luckily I never like suffocated or anything because, yeah. But it's annoying now because every time I go to get sushi, I look through all the sushi. I'm like, oh, they look so good, but every single one of them has a piece of avocado in it. I'm like, fuck. So I had to get I had to get the tuna one the other day, but tuna seems so basic because it's just like, I can get tuna in a can. I want something a bit more exotic. But yeah, whatever. But it made me think, like, because I was telling my colleague about how I was allergic to avocado, and it made me realize that I've got a few kind of weird allergies. Like, I get a bit of hay fever and stuff, but I just have these random allergies, like avocado one. And the first allergy I ever realized I had was that I'm allergic to Band-Aids. And that's a really weird, stupid thing to be allergic to, but I guess it's just like my skin is like sensitive or whatever. But it's specifically like elastoplast Band-Aids. Like if you stick it on for too long, it just like all around the Band-Aid is itchy. And this one time I had one on my foot and I peeled it off, and like it was super itchy. And when I peeled it off, like the skin underneath was like bubbles, like a bubbly blister. So that's pretty gross. And now too, I kind of say this, but it's not really true. Like I'm kind of allergic to caffeine, but I'm not really. Like my friends always give me shit about this because basically what happened was there was a period where I was kind of abusing caffeine in a way, like I was drinking a lot of energy drinks and stuff, and I kind of just developed a intolerance to it. And I had some bad situations, like panic attack type things where caffeine was involved. And yeah, like I drank too much caffeine and I had a panic attack. So it made me, I guess it kind of conditioned me to, whenever I get the feeling from caffeine, it gives me the feelings from like a panic attack. And my friend always tries to tell me like, oh, it's all in your head, man. It's all psychological. But I get what he's saying in a way, but it's physiological. Like, because if I accidentally consume caffeine, and I've done this a couple of times, like drank something that I never realized had caffeine in it, afterwards I'd be like, I don't know why, but I feel so shitty right now. And then I'd later find out that it had caffeine in it. I'm like, oh, that's why I felt shit. So that's why I know, like, I'm not convincing myself and then giving myself a panic attack, but it is like I've trained my body to recognize the feeling of caffeine and associate it with a bad feeling. So it's not consciously happening in my head. That's why I'm saying it's not psychological, but yeah, it is like a muscle memory thing, I guess. But yeah, if you got any weird allergies like that, let me know, because I think that I've got like 3 of the weirdest allergies, but yeah. So that's it for that. This week's installment of Life in Germany. Mops. Yeah, something I noticed in Germany is that people don't have normal mops, like the one with all the little strands hanging down, and you like, you can put it in a thing and you like step your foot on it and it squeezes all the water out, or like the little twisty things, how you like squeeze it into the thing and it wrings all the water out of it. Everyone seems to use these, like the flat style ones here, where it's like a flat piece of plastic on the end of a pole, and there's like a cloth that wraps around it. But like, it's so like I never expect this, because I always think Germans are going to be more efficient and more, you know, like anal about cleaning and stuff. Basically, every time I've seen somebody using them here, what they do is like they get it wet in the bucket and then like clean the floor, and then physically take the thing off with their hands and put it in the bucket and like wring it out with their hands and stuff. It's like, that's so gross, like having to take it off the thing and wring it with your hands every time. Or they just don't wring it out. It's so awkward because like it doesn't fit in a bucket, and there's no way that you can like clean it and then dry it off again so that you can scrub the floor again. But yeah, it's actually like, it was a big surprise for me, because a lot of the time, like maybe it's just in Berlin, but the floors here are usually gross. Like the East Side Mall is like a fairly new shopping center. When you walk in there, the ground is just like dust. Like it's all these fancy tiles, but it's just like dust all over the floor. Like you can feel your feet like sliding on the dust and stuff. And yeah, like there was a cleaning lady at work that was doing it like that, and the floor was really gross. And in the apartment building here, the lady just has like 20 of these like cloth things that wrap around the thing, and she just like scrubs it a little bit and then just like chucks it in a bucket and gets the next one out. And the hallway always smells so bad after she has cleaned in there. It's like, it just seems like every time people are cleaning floors here that it gets more dirty. So that's a lesson about Germany, is that for some reason they don't like normal mops. And I actually bought a normal mop here from a place which I found out imports all their products from Italy. So I don't think it's a European thing. I think it's just Germany, or maybe just Berlin. Okay, coronavirus update. Let's do this quickly. So last time I talked about how the cases, like the daily cases, started going up again, and yeah, so I was thinking in my head a lot of this time that, like, you know, people think that the situation is getting better, but it's actually getting much worse. But then I saw somebody post this saying that New York City has 0 new reported deaths for the first time since March. And I was like, that doesn't seem to line up, like, with what I've been seeing statistics wise. So I realized this is another thing where I had to check myself a little bit. I need to look a little bit more into the statistics. So basically worldwide, we're at 7 million now. I think last podcast episode I said we were at 6 million. I'm pretty sure. So maybe it was 6.5 million, but yeah, that's pretty crazy for it to grow by 1 million in 1 week. You can see the daily new cases is going up a lot. And this is what I was showing last time. Like, it steadied out for a while. And then I guess I was under the impression that people loosened restrictions a bit, and then it all shot up again. And now we're at like, 130 cases per day. And then I was like, how can that line up when they're saying New York City hasn't had any new deaths? USA is still at the top. Like, they were at 1.8 million last week, and now they're almost at 2 million. But it seems like a lot of the developed countries that kind of got hit with it pretty quickly are starting to deal with it pretty well. And so it's on a global scale. You can see, it is still getting much worse. Like, it's climbing. So we're on a global scale, we're definitely experiencing the worst that it's ever been right now. But then if we look at individual countries, so USA, you still got a lot of cases in New York and stuff, but no new deaths and no new cases in New York. So it seems like, Iowa's obviously having a problem, and that's contributed to more than half of the deaths in this last day. And some other areas are having problems. But then if you look at the, daily new cases in America, it is going down. So yeah, maybe just the fact that a lot of more people are wearing masks and stuff now is helping. And even if they're beginning to open things up again, it is starting to go back down very slowly though. But I'm interested to see what happens after all this, the protests. So you can see, the active number of cases is starting to round out. And then, let's look at the other countries. So Germany, I'm only going to look at sort of the countries that, I'm assuming the most of the people are watching are in Australia, or maybe some in Germany, maybe some Americans. One American, maybe. But yeah, here in Germany, it's a similar kind of deal. Like, we're starting to see it flatten. It's still going up, but the daily new cases has actually gone down a lot as well. So it's really good. So maybe there is reason to feel like we can start going back to work and stuff, but I think we still need to be pretty cautious. And Australia, not much has really been happening in Australia. And the daily new cases in Australia has gone right back down to beginning of March kind of level. So that's really good. But then I was thinking like, okay, well then how come on a global scale it's still getting so bad? And this website is really good because what you can do is you can sort by any of these. So we got to go, all right, it's by default, it's sorting by who has the most cases, which is the USA. But if the USA is dealing with their cases and the number of new cases is dropping, then we're going to go, okay, well, who's got the most new cases? So if we sort by that, you can see that Russia is basically the big problem right now. Russia, Pakistan, Mexico. So that's where I think all the growth is happening. So yeah, if you look at these new cases and new deaths, you can see Mexico by far is doing the worst in terms of how many people are dying. So yeah, you've got to sort by these to see, the USA has a shitload of cases, but who's the problem right now? Like, where is all this growth coming from right now? And yeah, it seems like it's mostly Mexico, Brazil, and Pakistan. So if we look at, what did I say? No, Mexico, Russia, Brazil and Pakistan. So like, if we look at Russia, number of cases still pretty steadily increasing, but the daily new cases has dropped a little bit, but they're still doing a lot worse than most other countries. Well, most of the other countries that we talked about before. And yeah, total deaths is still climbing. Active cases kind of flattened out a little bit. Daily deaths still climbing. And then if we look at Mexico, the situation's worse. Like, it's exponential growth in Mexico. Daily new cases is exponential as well. And total deaths exponential. It's getting much worse there. So in terms of people quarantining and stuff in the States and in Germany and Australia, I think we should still be careful, but also it's right for people to start thinking we should start loosening the restrictions a little bit to help out with the economy, and we're kind of in the position to be able to do that now. But there's a lot of other countries that are getting hit really hard right now, and that makes it very obvious that we shouldn't loosen any travel restrictions anytime soon, because just because your country is doing well, if you start getting a bunch of people coming over from Mexico, theoretically, then the situation gets worse again. So I think we all still have to be pretty cautious, but it is good to see that USA, Germany and Australia are doing a lot better now. So that's basically it for like the main topics. Now I just thought I'd talk about some housekeeping stuff. I got this new chair, pretty lit. So I'm improving my posture. I feel so, my posture's on point right now. What else? I'm trying to streamline the setup and process and stuff a bit more. The thing has come into my head again this week, like why I'm doing all of this. And it kind of feels like I'm doing this as practice for public speaking and as practice for making content for other things. Like I'm not expecting to have like a really successful podcast or something, but it's kind of just like good practice for me doing this kind of stuff. And if people enjoy it, then that's cool. And I've mentioned that a bunch of times. But yeah, I'm trying to streamline the process to make it easier for myself so I can do this really easy. So like I'm gonna probably get a capture card so that I can just like record all the screen. Like right now, this laptop is actually, I'm controlling this computer through this laptop. So I'm recording everything through this computer. I'm just looking at the screen here of that screen while it's turned off. So yeah, if I can just plug everything into that computer and then just record everything in, then it's super easy to edit it, and I can just like record and then edit in like the same amount of time that I spent recording. So yeah, maybe the purpose of this is that I can do podcasts for other people, or, you know, I've been considering trying to get a podcast for my workplace going, because I think like the customers and stuff would be interested to see what's happening like regularly with an update. So maybe that's why I'm doing this kind of thing, is like I can put this practice into doing something for something else. Other things I want to say, I'm going to start doing recommendations in here, just like things to check out. Like this week, it's a YouTube channel. I just stumbled across it. It's called Namib Nauda? I don't know how to say it. But it's this conservation, Ocean Conservation Namibia. And they've got heaps of cool videos. Basically, these guys just run around on a beach rescuing seals who have got something stuck around their neck. Actually, I saw this happen once in Australia. One of my friends from school, I was at the beach with him, and he saw this thing flapping around in some like net out in the ocean. And him and this other guy went out there, swam out there and dragged it in, and it was a seal caught in this net. And everyone gathered around and were like, oh, they got to help and everything. And it was my first time seeing a seal up close in the wild. And they're really like, they're just like bulldogs with fins, flaps. They like growl at you and like they bark and stuff. It looks like they're going to try and bite you. But yeah, they held it down and it was trying to attack them and everything. And this video is really similar. It reminded me of that. But they cut it out of the net and let it swim off and stuff. But yeah, check out this video because let's just watch it.
Okay.
I guess it kind of seems rough, but
Baby, hey, let's go. You can go. Go. It's a pleasure.
yeah, there's heaps of them like this. But it kind of seems rough because they have to push its head down and stuff. But it's because the animal doesn't know what's going on. They think that they're getting attacked. But it is nice to see, even though like, the seals obviously can't like. This says baby seal thanks rescuers. It didn't really thank them, and they don't really know what's going on. But it is cool to see these guys like, must be constantly happening. They're constantly running around trying to cut nets off these seals. But it's cool seeing that looks like a good job, and it would be so rewarding. And even if the seals don't appreciate it, it's cool. It's good to know that like nice things like that are happening all over the world, and you don't even know about it until you randomly stumble across their videos on YouTube. So check that out. This week, shout outs. This is just calling back to the Black Lives Matter thing. There was this guy, Drew Brees, made a big speech about the Black Lives Matter thing, and he made a comment saying that that he would never do, like he supports the Black Lives Matter and all that kind of stuff, but he would never kneel during the national anthem like Colin Kaepernick and stuff, because he wouldn't want to disrespect the flag. And this guy, Malcolm Jenkins, I think they're on the same football team, but he basically told him why that's bullshit.
Yeah.
And I won't watch the whole video, but basically he said, like, you know, you're coming from a place where you don't understand what it's like, and it's true. Drew Brees doesn't understand what it's like for black people in that situation. And he's like, you're telling us when it's right for us to protest. It's like, there's never a right time to protest, which is what I was saying before. So, yeah, basically, he needs to shut up. Like, you can't tell somebody, if somebody's mad about something, you can't tell them when they're allowed to be mad about it. It's, you know, they've been facing this problem for hundreds of years, and it's about time that people listen to them and actually change our behavior. So shout out to Malcolm Jenkins for standing up to somebody who's well loved by a lot of people, Drew Brees, and well loved by himself, but he stood up to somebody who's also his teammate as well and called him out and said, you can do better than this. So yeah, shout out to him. And that's just about it. I think this week I'm going to wrap it up there. I probably went a little bit too long into all that stuff, but yeah, I think that's enough. So thanks for listening, and there'll be another episode before the album releases, so you'll get to hear about all of that again. But yeah, you've got that to look forward to, and thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.